Do you recall those countless squad goals posts that completely inundated our social media feeds? All those group selfies, vacation moments, and shared laughter that filled our screens? Those images that portrayed perfect camaraderie, that defined our virtual friendships? They were the modern-day testament to our seemingly unbreakable bonds, the digital badges of our social connectivity. Well, the global pandemic arrived and swiftly lifted the veil on our relationships. Quarantine measures and lockdown regulations found us isolated. Our social life suddenly dimmed as the real world came crashing in. The friendships that once seemed to flourish in the open realm of social media were suddenly put under a litmus test. Expectations were shattered as the constant flurry of likes and comments that used to be exchanged between friends ceased to translate into actual support. We found that the digital world was but a mere facsimile of genuine camaraderie. The friends who were like extensions of ourselves, who always seemed to be just a click away, disappeared into thin air when the possibility of real-life connection became a distant dream. Friends who seemed super close online vanished when real-life connection became impossible. Let's face it, being stuck at home 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with your significant other wasn't always sunshine and rainbows. It's a position many of us have suddenly found ourselves in due to the ongoing pandemic. In the comfort of our homes, we have experienced moments of togetherness that we wouldn't have had otherwise. However, there's a flip side to this coin. For some couples, bombarded with the relentless presence of each other, the situation felt less like a romantic getaway and more like an inescapable cage. The pandemic, in its own twisted way, acted as a pressure cooker for relationships. It revealed fissures previously unseen and amplified existing ones. It exposed pre-existing communication issues, brought to light hidden disagreements, and highlighted unbalanced household responsibilities. The balance of chores, often taken for granted, became a bone of contention, causing stress and strain. Healthcare workers, grocery store employees, delivery drivers, these folks were the backbone of society during the pandemic. They were the pillars holding up our world in a time of crisis, tirelessly hustling to keep our lives running as smoothly as possible. Day in and day out, they put themselves in harm's way, becoming the heroes we didn't know we needed. However, as we applauded their courage and resilience, an important question arose. Were their employers equally committed to their welfare? Shockingly, the reality was often less than commendable. Many corporations, unfortunately, seemed more captivated by their balance sheets than the well-being of their workforce. They stayed fixated on their profit margins rather than focusing on providing secure and healthy working conditions for those who were risking their lives daily for the sake of others. But did their employers always have their backs? Sadly, some companies prioritized profits over employee well-being, expecting their essential workers to constantly put themselves at risk. For some families, physical distance during lockdown magnified existing sibling rivalries, pushing them into stark relief. As everyone retreated to their own corners of the world, the digital space became a new battleground. Siblings scattered across the globe thrust their lives onto media platforms, each snapshot and status update a testament to their personal success. Seeing siblings seemingly thriving online, with their picture-perfect families and curated fun activities, could ignite a spark of jealousy. Coupled with the unspoken comparison game, these images of perfection were enough to stoke the fires of envy and resentment. Moreover, the pandemic brought its own set of financial disparities, breeding additional stress. This tension escalated particularly if some siblings were more financially secure than others, creating a dynamic where they had to support their less fortunate siblings. Financial disparities during the pandemic created additional stress, especially if some siblings had to support others. Let's talk about society as a whole. The global health crisis, known as the pandemic, didn't simply touch every individual in an identical way. Certain segments of the population were hit harder than others, the disparity starkly evident. Particularly those belonging to lower-income communities and groups that are already vulnerable by virtue of their socio-economic status, age, or pre-existing health conditions, suffered disproportionately. This unfortunate reality laid bare the social injustices and systemic inequities that are deeply ingrained in our society. Beyond the evident health implications, the pandemic also triggered an economic tsunami, with these disadvantaged groups bearing the brunt of it. The lack of access to essential healthcare services, the scarcity of resources, and the inability to afford basic necessities became painfully clear. It's a wake-up call that has forced us to confront the urgent need for systematic change.